Hello, and welcome back to the Portsmouth Comic Con podcast. And this is episode 2. On this episode, I got to speak with some heroes who will be at the Comic Con next year on the 2nd and 3rd of May. I spoke with Dr. Mayank Patel and Ryan Kelly, who are the creators and developers of a trading card game which helps battle the stigma of diabetes. DiaFight is a fun, fantasy-themed card game that turns the challenges of living with diabetes into an adventure, helping players learn, connect, and feel empowered along the way. And I learned so much in this fantastic interview, and I can't wait to see everybody from DiaFight interact with the guests at Portsmouth Comic Con. Representation matters so much, whether that be in comics, in video games, in movies and TV shows. When we can find something in a character that we can relate to, that we are going through, it makes the connection to that character or storyline or game stronger. And after speaking with these heroes from DiaFight, I can't wait to see how they interact with everybody at Portsmouth Comic Con. They are heroes, and this was such a fun chat, and I hope you really enjoy it. So here we are with another fantastic episode of the Portsmouth Comic Con podcast, and I'm speaking with some heroes today from DiaFight. We've got Dr. Mayank and Ryan, some of the heroes that have been working behind the scenes on this fantastic game, which is all about being seen. Something that is so important to me in comics and in any form of escapism is to be seen, and to recognize something in a character that you can relate to is very important. So, gang, welcome to the Portsmouth Comic Con podcast. How are you doing?
We're good.
Cheers.
We're good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time today. I'm sure you're both very, very busy people, but I, today, ideally, want to know as much about DiaFight as possible. I've heard some fantastic things from Nick and Kurt, who have seen some of the trading cards that I'm so excited to see and find out more about at Portsmouth Comic Con next year. But if you could both introduce yourselves and share your origin stories and let listeners and watchers know about DiaFight.
Ryan, would you care to kick off? As strictly speaking, look, DiaFight is Ryan's contribution. My angle is alongside Ryan, but not within DiaFight. I think Ryan would be agreeable to say, but working in partnership with him about raising the profile of type 1 diabetes. But I will let Ryan lead the chat to start with.
Yeah, sure. So I'm Ryan Kelly. So I created DiaFight. Like I say, Mayank and Partha created type 1 diabetes comics. They work really well together. So I'm sort of the lived experience, psychosocial leading side of things, I suppose. That's one of my area of expertise. I'm a PhD student at Portsmouth University, completing this year. And I have, for the last 12 years now, worked as a psychosocial researcher. So I've been listening, transcribing and analysing people with diabetes interviews over and over for thousands of people, just all about their life experience living with diabetes. And that's what I pretty much do day to day. Is kind of listen to people's experiences, analyze their kind of responses to our kind of interview questions, and and DiaFight is essentially the translation of all those lived experiences, all those kind of thoughts and feelings about diabetes into a metaphorical world, where every single aspect of diabetes is reflected in a monster location, feeling, kind of thought in that world. So that's kind of it. That's the translation, where it comes from, etc.
So Luke, where Ryan's offer comes in is where, based on his lived experience, professional role as researching individuals living with diabetes, he takes the sort of mental impact element of that situation and the psychological impact, and has weaved that into a series of different card games under the banner of the DiaFight brand. Is that a fair comment, Ryan, from me?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you. And what Partha and I have sought to do, Luke, is to similarly take the lived experience of type 1 diabetes, perhaps the more physical element of it, and translate that into a comic offering universe type situation, which we've been doing since 2015. So as you can see, we're both coming at this from different places in an effort to help champion awareness of type 1 diabetes in a wider audience, because there's lots of misconceptions that we can perhaps talk about. But the idea is that by using this medium of geekness and nerdiness and such like as a platform where we know lots of people have analogies and reach, it's a different way in to try and raise a serious health message about living well with type 1 diabetes.
I mean, that is it. It is so important. it's starting the conversation, which is sometimes can be the most trickiest thing, and doing it in a way that is fun and educational at the same time. It is so important to break that stigma, as it were, to get a narrative and to start not necessarily making life easier, but manageable, learning more, educating ourselves more, and educating those that maybe didn't know too much about it. I've got friends and family that do suffer with diabetes, so I know a little. And I think many people now, we know somebody that is going to be struggling with certain aspects of that. So for a game like this that is open to everybody, it's a great way to, as we say, to get that talking. So Ryan, how did this all sort of really begin for you?
So I was a game developer, kind of part-time. So I've been a tabletop game developer for about 5 years. Took one of the games I'd made, actually, another trading card game, actually. Well, it's not a trading card, but I can get into that later if you like.
Please.
It's called Oot, and I took it to a diabetes conference because a friend of mine also plays kind of card games, trading card games, and it's similar to that kind of Magic the Gathering type feel. So we're playing it together in the cafe bar area, and another colleague came over and so was asking about what it was, and so kind of explained how it works, etc., and what I kind of do as a hobby. And he said, "Oh, you should definitely make one for diabetes." I kind of dismissed the thought immediately, and I thought all diabetes games generally come down to kind of rolling the dice, moving 3 squares, and then reading out a massive block of text. So that's kind of, what we tried to avoid when we started developing it. But I did think about it over the next few days while I was at the conference, and then I had 11 hours on a plane home from San Francisco. Kind of a boring 11 hours to kind of fill the time. So it came back into my head a bit. I was kind of rethinking about gamification, thinking, well, what is the purpose of gamification? What is the purpose of doing a diabetes game? And I couldn't see a way to implement education directly into the game without being lecturing or overbearing. And then I really thought about what do games do? What games supposed to do? And certain games do all sorts of different things, obviously. But what game could be implemented or game could be transferred into something remotely educational? And it wasn't really the direct education, the medical education that I focused on. It was actually more the conversational education that comes out of having a conversation with people with lived experience or with knowledge or with resources behind them, and then what those conversations can actually lead to the education, what education components can come out of the conversation. So that's why I kind of focus on card games, because card games allow people to really have a conversation while playing. So it's all the kind of games are around almost prompts, almost creating prompts to lead into a conversation. So you'll see a stigma monster, a stigma snake. And someone without diabetes will see that and go, well, what is that? What does that mean? And then someone with diabetes around the table, because you're usually going to play with someone with diabetes when you're playing a diabetes card game, can then open up about their experience about stigma. And then someone else can kind of jump in around, well, how can we help deal with that, etc. And that's what I wanted to lead to, is not a direct educational component in terms of reading text or kind of delivering a resource. It's more about creating a conversation to facilitate that element.
And I think that's, as you said, it's a fantastic way of putting it, is that when you're playing this game, yes, for me, it would be fantastic because I would be able to learn more whilst playing a game. That is how my brain really works. Give me a game or a puzzle or anything, and I will lock in, and I would just fixate on that way. I'm not very competitive, but I would want to play to my best ability whilst learning about that. And on a personal scale, if I was playing with somebody that had diabetes, I would learn more about it and learn more about them at the same time, which is a fantastic thing I love about tabletop games. There's always been a big element with Portsmouth Comic Con with dice from Portsmouth that come along, and there are so many fantastic different board games now that you can collect. I've got a friend that's got dozens and dozens of board games, and they can look quite intimidating to sort of the rookie, as it were. But when you get into that world of board games and card-based games, it's a fantastic universe to look into. So I think you've really cracked onto something there. That long haul flight, that really helped you out by keeping you from losing yourself to boredom. Now, Dr. Mayank, how did you get involved with this fantastic project?
Sure. So essentially, my colleague, who's not on the call today, sadly, Dr. Partha Carr, is a diabetes consultant in Portsmouth. We trained together to become specialists, and we've been working as specialists for nearly 20 years in diabetes. And for us, both self-confessed movie nerds and geeks and such like, as per your background there, Luke.
Yes, sir.
It was through conversations with some of our patients, in truth, Luke, back in the day, where they told us when they're diagnosed in childhood with type 1, for example, there was very little resource they were provided with themselves. Parents might be provided with some cold clinical leaflet, an NHS black and white photocopied sheet of paper saying your guide to diabetes for your child, such and such like. But the person themselves who lived with diabetes felt relatively underserved. I mean, yes, they were a child, I appreciate that, but even still, there was nothing they were given to help them along the way. And that's where the idea of this was around the time when the Marvel Universe movie series was kicking off. There was an origins buzz around where characters came from. And that was the jump off point for us in 2014, 2015 with our first comic book offering. We were very fortunate to, as with Ryan, we talked to people living with diabetes. We want to speak for them. We took their lived experience. They had connections in comic book world with Revolve Comics, a brand based in Ireland who specialise in health comics, believe it or not, Luke. So the conversation between myself, Partha, Danny from Revolve Comics, and individual stories with Type 1 shaped a narrative that fitted our first comic offer, Type 1 Origins, back in 2014-15, which chronicled a young person developing Type 1 diabetes, playing out in a sort of comic book storyline, not to make fun or have a laugh, but to inform, be visually appealing to others, and to help that person tell their story. And perhaps, as with Ryan, that can be a shared experience of them showing it to their friends or their family, saying, yep, this is me, this is what happened to me, I had these physical tells that something was wrong, and this is me. And as you said at the start, Luke, it's like when superheroes have that vulnerability of a certain thing, they've got to adapt to a different situation, be in a period of denial perhaps, not want to have this inflicted upon them, sadly. We can't reverse that, sadly. So it's trying to offer them a resource where you can't reverse it, of course not, but it's an opportunity to share and educate with their friends and family. That was the aim of this, and to champion the brand awareness of type 1 diabetes at scale. And since that first issue, we're really humbled that we've gone on to release a further 4 volumes. So volume 6 goes live on World Diabetes Day in November. We can cycle back to that, but we focus squarely on thank you, we've squarely focused on type 1 diabetes. I think Ryan may have touched on type 2 as well, but between us we're trying to raise brand awareness about diabetes and challenge the stigma, the misconceptions, the myths between us.
And that, again, it's just for something that in a way seems so simple, just to get the word out there. But again, going back to Ryan and that long flight and that eureka moment, thought, okay, let's work on this. Let's find out where we can take this and see how far you've done. And clearly you're doing fantastic work as it's getting more and more recognition, which is a wonderful thing. I can remember sort of growing up in the 80s and 90s, when it came to comics and education, there wasn't that much. Now, I've got a couple of vintage posters from Superman in the 80s for a dastardly villain called Nick O'Teen against anti-smoking, which was a fantastic campaign, but it stuck with me. And it's things like that can, again, if I was to see that in a doctor's waiting room or a dentist as a kid, I was like, oh, look, there's Superman. That's, that's my hero talking about something that is really important. It's that stepping stone to increase the conversation and to go a little bit deeper and learn more. So it's something that I'm sure you are both fantastically proud of. But Ryan, what have been some of the those big milestones for you that have really just made you really proud of the project?
I'm not a person particularly kind of reflects on myself very much. I think it's the conversations. So we go to children with diabetes kind of camps in America. It's like big kind of camps in America. And we've recently done our kind of Comic Con campaign with MCM over in London. Obviously Birmingham's coming up in a few weeks now. It's the conversations though. It's that kind of like giving it to someone, then have a look through the cards, have a look through the thing, and just the instant kind of relatability. It's like, oh, that's me. I feel that. I see that. And it's, it's people picking it up, seeing it, and being relatable. That is the biggest kind of thank you can get, really. That's
Well, that's
the
good.
moment,
I mean,
think.
and again, it's hard sort of looking at your achievements and to say be proud of one's work, but you should be. As I said, I've been doing some of my research, speaking with Kurt and Nick from Portsmouth Guildhall, and I was given a fantastic quote that even though, you said you don't like too much praise, I shall read the quote out, which was from a parent of a child with type 1 diabetes. And they said, "It was the first time my son saw another kid with diabetes, even if it was a cartoon, and it made all the difference." So again, it's looking at that relatability and starting the conversation, knowing that you're not alone, which is such a huge and important element when it comes to books or comics or board games or illnesses. So you are both doing some fantastic work, and to hear your work ethic and learn more about this is a privilege. I can't wait to see how you sort of interact with all the people at Portsmouth Comic Con, and the fact that now you're both so local, it's fantastic. Having pride for this con is such a big thing for me. One, it's in my hometown. Two, there is absolutely zero hassle when it comes to the commute. It is just down the road. So it's the perfect Comic-Con for me, because it means that I can buy more stuff and take it home as well without that hassle of it all. So what can people expect to see from DiaFight when they come to Portsmouth Comic-Con?
Yes.
So Ryan, go for it.
Well, I was just going to touch on Dice, actually, Dice Board Game Lounge. So we worked with them last year, actually. So we kind of early stages showing the kind of game and showing my other games as well, working with Dice. So we're going to be in the basement again with kind of Well Fight and DiaFight, showing the games. Mayank, I think, is going to kind of lead up top in the with the DWF, etc. So I'll let Mayank kind of.
Sure, thanks, Ryan. So essentially, Luke will be trying to take over in different locations, as Ryan's alluded to. But from my perspective, I believe conversations are ongoing. But as I understand it currently, the idea is to have a sort of protected space just outside the main guild hall in the area near the Andy's Men's Clubs area, sort of health zone, if you like. And there'll be a table. We're going to looking to get some hard copies printed of the comics as well to give away for free. Because something else that's been a real privilege is the fact that the comics we've done, Luke, are online for free. We don't charge for them. So largely people can read them digitally and consume them that way. But we always print off a selection of hard copies so people can take away. But I think for this forum, having a hard copy to give to somebody physically will really add that awareness piece that we've been talking about, hopefully. So for us, I'll be there. Maybe alongside Ryan or Ryan's other half will be in the area as well to help us with our brand awareness exercise, along with which we work with a really amazing charity, both of us, called the Diabetes Research and Wellness Foundation. Excellent bunch of guys, chaired by Sarah Tutton, their CEO. And they'll be there as well, representatives to be there with the charity team as well, with some diabetes proper clinical literature about education for diabetes. So it'll be us, Ryan, the official charity, all discussing diabetes in a fun, pop culture filled space. That's the aim of this.
And again, that's brilliant, because it's as we know, it's something important that we need to be talking about, and the amount of inclusivity that is already at Portsmouth Comic Con, something that they've worked so hard to maintain over the years, and the fact that it's something different that necessarily you wouldn't see at a Comic Con. So it's going to make people curious, first of all, and of course people are going to go there that didn't expect to see something about that, and it may be something that they're going through, or they know somebody that is going through that process, so they can learn more at the same time, which is just fantastic. And again, it makes me proud to be a geek and to be from Portsmouth, because there's always something new coming to the con, and this is just a perfect example of that. So we've talked a little bit about geekness and the world of being a nerd, something that used to be, again, a bit of a stigma. It used to be a dirty word. For now, though, it's a whole new world. It is $1 billion industry. So Ryan and Dr. Mike, what is something that you both geek out over? One of your your little fan passions?
So mine is definitely fantasy. Everything kind of fantasy.
Okay.
You can see the swords and the shields and in the background. It's
Yes.
That's my jam. So Lord of the Rings, it's one of my favourite kind of film. Game of Thrones, etc. That kind of low fantasy elements, etc. Yeah, 100% fantasy.
I mean, again, that's
For me-
sorry, going back to that fantasy world. It's a difficult world to sort of go into lightly. I started reading a lot more this year, and I'm still waiting. I've got the Lord of the Rings to read through and the Hobbit to go through. My goal this year is to read 61 books because my girlfriend said she wanted to read 60. So me just again going back to that competitive mode, and I think I'm going to start the Tolkien books next year. But the world of fantasy, that is something that I've been getting into over the last 2 years, mainly getting into the Discworld series by Pratchett, because that world for me is just where my mind goes to, with that zany humor, but also fantastic writing as well. So that's a good fandom to be a part of, Ryan, and there's going to be plenty of that going on at Portsmouth Comic Con that year. Again, Dr. Mayank, what are your fandoms?
Yeah, so similarly, so my first memory, my big passion is going to cinema and movies. So for me, going to see the original Star Wars in 1977 on the big screen, that stayed with me even till now. The original Superman 1978. These are things that have stuck with me since childhood. And so for me, the superhero universe, DC, Marvel, I'm not particularly brand loyal. All that fantasy element, I love that. The idea of people acquiring a new situation, I think for me, and they're adapting to it. And as I say, we weaved in diabetes just to watch those characters on screen, have those stories told, how they adapt, the networks of people they build. And again, recognize they have support, Luke. They're not alone. And again, beyond my clinical, even I'm watching a film, regardless of this work, I still like to see the idea of others coming together, the teamwork piece, coming together element of it. That's the side of things. I love the team ups. Mission Impossibles, I love those as well. The whole team up, everyone's got their role to play. I love that kind of that sort of world as well. I'm a big fan of those sorts of things for me.
I think that's the thing, when you get that sort of that band of league, as it were, whether it be the Justice League
the Avengers,
or the Avengers. There's somebody there that brings something to the game or the story or the mission, which is why a game such as this has got some fantastic different elements. Everybody can find their way and a way that they can play the game to their best ability, or when they learn tips and tricks as well. So for somebody that isn't sort of necessarily a big board gamer or card player, how can people get into the rules of this game, Ryan? How easy is it to sort of get to be a good player?
So actually, it's about 5 different card games, and there's a role-playing game coming as well. So DiaFight is kind of the universe, the world, and then we just kind of overlay different game themes and different kind of game mechanics on that. So we've got games like Rummy. So Rummy Gin Rummy, so actually collecting cards, same colour, kind of, you've got a power score element to it as well. It's a bit more engaging. You've also got games like Snap, so kids games like Snap. Little monsters come up, you got to kind of match the monsters. And then we go from, like you say, a trading card game, and then we've got a blackjack style game, which is more kind of party game. And then we've got the old kind of fashion top trumps type style game. So there's 5 different kind of card games for every kind of age range, kind of genre you're into. They're all fairly simple, to be honest. And then we've got like the role-playing game, which is like Dungeons and Dragons for diabetes. It's your characters don't particularly have diabetes, but all the monsters, like we were talking about, make it so you're actually experiencing different aspects of diabetes as someone with diabetes would. As these monsters are kind of making you experience stigmas, making you experience kind of hypos and hypers, etc. And then the effects on your character. So yeah, all different kind of levels of gaming we're trying to cater to.
And I mean, again, I'm wanting to play it now. I'm itching to play it. There's so many, as I said, you put in different ways to play the game, which is good for people with different abilities, as it were, like a hero. The top trumps element, I love that because I'm a big top trumps fan, and that's going to be a really fun way to play. So I'm looking forward to seeing people play the game at the con as well. I'm looking forward to see the artwork as well. I've heard some fantastic things from Nick and Kerr at the Guildhall about how the artwork is put in this card set. So it's going to be some interesting game places to see. What was it like for you both when you first saw the cards for the first time?
I mean, I've only seen Ryan's cards recently, but Ryan's been doing it for a few years now. Ryan, is it these games been in circulation?
Yeah, honestly, some of them obviously less, but about 2 years almost. It's probably like a second year of kind of from concept to now.
So seeing that deck sort of being in your hand for the first time, going from that initial flight to that moment when you've got the deck in your hand, how did you feel, Ryan, when that first happened?
Incredibly stressed, to be honest with you. I'm quite like everything correct, like everything right. So yeah, it's just like checking every single detail of the card. Literally, yeah, stress almost. It says relief came a lot later in terms of seeing it in people's hands. When it was in my hands, it was still kind of what's wrong with it? Anything wrong with this card? Anything wrong with these decks? Have I misspelt anything? Because I've done that in the past with other games. So yeah, it was a relief actually when they're finally in somebody else's hands, when they seem to enjoy it, rather than when it was in mine.
I mean, well, that's the goal, isn't it? It's to get that idea out there, to get people playing this game, to see people who are going to benefit from it as well. That's the real pat on the back that I'm sure you've seen and will continue to see in the future, because this idea just is such a fantastic way of, again, getting that message out there.
What I would say, Luke,
Luke,
sorry, what I was going to say, what I would say, we're not deluded. We know this isn't for everybody. It's simply offering up something so people don't feel there's nothing to help them. We're trying to, if we inspire others to create other resources, then that's amazing. That's great, because everyone different people get different buttons pushed in different ways. So similar to Ryan, when Comic One was first drawn up in 2014-15, I know it was really exciting. I had with a huge sense of responsibility, taking people's lived experience and depicting in a comic world. Not everybody liked it, we get it, but the lion's share of people really did like it. We thought, okay, we're not going to please everybody, and that we shouldn't try and please everybody, because that's how you will drive yourself nuts. So we've gone with it for the comics. We've gone with it with each edition, doing the best we can, using people's stories, and again, in the hope that it lands well with some people. If others don't like it, they don't like it. It shouldn't deter us from trying to still tell stories where we're trying to educate, weave in real world diabetes issues, as Ryan has with the cards, in a kind of comic book story. And what we've sought to do, Luke, across the current 5 issues to date, is use a different genre. So issue 1 was the superhero. Issue 2 was a detective story. Issue 3 was a spy-themed narrative. Issue 4 involved, I'm trying to think now, involved time travel. Issue 5 involved an off-world adventure. So you can see how we're trying to morph.
I do.
In different ways to push it, and they all cover different topics.
The completionist in me wants the whole set now as well. Whenever a comic gets a variant cover, I have to get that whole set. So to have, those big things that are so important to the world of fantasy and Comic-Cons, you've got time travel, you've got fantasy, you've got superheroes, you're covering all the bases, which is fantastic, which is what, again, a Comic-Con, like Portsmouth Comic Con, should be. There is something there for everybody, but not necessarily everybody's going to like it. But there is something there you might not have known about if you didn't look for it. So when something finds you like this game, it's a beautiful, beautiful moment.
And it feels like a safe space. I think Ryan would agree. These are our people, Ryan. I think we'd agree, Ryan, in terms of the target demographics, very specifically, obviously. And if they walk away and share their learnings with others online, social media, physically, with a pack of cards in their hand or a comic book in their hand, I will take that. I'm sure Ryan would as well, just to get the brand out there further.
I think it's a beautiful thing. I'm looking...
I was going to say, in line with that, like Mayank and Parva, I don't think they admit it themselves, but I think they're kind of groundbreaking in this as well, because what we've seen since then is, I think it was Friends for Life. Obviously, they were doing Marvel actually raised a comic as well in partnership with one of the bigger industries, industry players. They created their own comic, creating their own kind of universe and hero, and I think they're kind of they've really actually paved the way for something here as well.
Thank you, Ryan. So it's lovely to have this opportunity, Luke. And also, there's a lady in India who has type 1 diabetes herself. She reached out to us, and they produced 2 India-themed diabetes comics. Because you can imagine the lived experience of type 1 diabetes, Luke, in India is very different to the UK. And hence, she's taken off and done 2 storyboards there for an Indian narrative written in Hindi, I believe. But even still, it's reached an audience in a way that perhaps we couldn't, for example. But it's as Ryan said, it's the idea that we've inspired somebody else to try and do something and raise the brand awareness further of type 1 diabetes.
And that's it, exactly. It's come from that one idea, and now, as you say, it's around the world. It's being translated into new languages for new audiences, for new people that are going to be possibly going through the same ordeals. But it's just, that's the special thing about it. That as soon as I heard about this, when I was at a Comic-Con meeting, I was like, this is what Comic-Cons are about. It's a community. It's where people come to talk about the things that they love and talk about what they're going through. For me, comics have always been a form of escape, a way to leave the world that we're in and just enjoy it. But sometimes we can't escape everything. So when we're able to read a comic or play a game that is something near and dear to us that we are going through, it's it makes that connection to that realm of fantasy a bit more special and a bit more magical. So what you are doing and continue to do is a real special thing.
Thank you. No, it's been a joy to do it, and I love doing it. And we both do this outside of our regular working hours because, you know, this is something that's totally fun, but it's bringing a part of ourselves into it as well. The life outside of my professional role as a diabetes specialist, I bring the nerdiness, the geekiness to it in a different way, and I love doing it. So it's just been a joy, and I'm happy to keep doing it as long as there's stories to tell, I think is the message, Luke. As I said to you earlier, our volume 6 goes live on World Diabetes Day, and that's themed quite topically on the last few years. It's an explosion in people wearing wearable diabetes technology. You see these things in people's arms, the glucose readers, or personal pumps that deliver insulin. So we've taken the digital element and given it the Tron Matrix, I've said too much, treatment in volume 6 that goes live soon.
Spoilers already. There's spoilers hitting the internet now. That's good though. I mean, again, it's another fandom that hasn't been approached, so that's great. Your work ethic, and I'm sure everybody's work ethic that is a part of this, is powerful to see. Where do you see this, say, in 5 or 10 years' time for DiaFight?
DiaFight, well, again, hopefully just laying some ground like kind of Partha and Mayank have done in terms of getting it into industry kind of using this as a tool. Doesn't have to be DiaFight, it could be something else that's great. Just using almost a new style of gamification in terms of the approachability and relatability, and not just the kind of black and white roller board, but really have that, just like you said about the effort. I think it's all about kind of having that amount of effort into something that's not particularly going to be rewarded. You're not going to get any financial reward out of this, but it's about kind of like just showing someone actually particularly cares enough to make something good, or good enough, that's enjoyable, kind of engaging. I think that's the most kind of thing, is showing an example that it can be done well, and it can be engaging.
Absolutely. And to pick on Ryan's point, I think, Luke, to see perhaps an extension of get card games or comic books in other health conditions would be fabulous. There's plenty of other long-term conditions that older people have to live with for years, you know, asthma, mental health. And there's no reason why one would hope that the comic platform, speaking of myself rather than Ryan, could not be used in that way to tell stories with new characters going through real world situations and relatable to others, that the readership could then think, oh yes, he's speaking to me, that's my story, depicted in a way that, you know, tells it like it is. But again, I would hope the individuals doing this would speak to people who have those conditions and not speak for them, which is where we've been very clear about that in our comic offering. We don't do it ourselves, me and Partha. We speak to individuals with type 1 diabetes to use their narratives, their experiences to inform what we offer.
And that's such an important part, because really it's their story that's being told. So they should be the ones that help tell it. So you are, again, helping people in so many ways. It really is heroic. I love what you do. There is an element with superheroes when we think they're doing the stuff that we can't do. That's what makes them a superhero. That's not always true. We can do as much as we possibly can to be heroes to someone else. And that is what everybody there is doing, and it's such a fantastic thing to see. I can't wait to be able to see you there at the Comic Con, to be able to shake your hands and see the impact that you are all having on the world, which is a huge thing. So I admire the work. I really, really am grateful, Ryan, to that long haul flight where you didn't just sit back and watch a film. You made the right choice, and superheroes make the right choice, and that's what you all are doing. Where can people, before they come and see you at Comic-Con, where can they find out more about all the great work that you are getting up to, guys?
So it's just DiaFight.com. So it's DIA, so it's in diabetes, obviously, and then just fight after that, all one word. So it's DiaFight.com if you want to keep up.
And there will be, of course, a link in that to the podcast. I'm looking forward to collecting these comics and seeing these cards and adding those to my collection as well. So, guys, thank you so much for your time today.
Luke, I was just going to say, the comics, Luke, are hosted on www.revolvecomics.com. That's where the comics are. Different to Ryan's page.
So there's a chance that I might be able to get some before the event, and I can come down and you can sign my copies then.
If you're asked nicely, it's possible, yeah.
It's going to happen. There will be all sorts of treats being swapped over, because I love collecting things that mean something. Yes, I am a hoarder when it comes to Superman merchandise, but It's things like that that are special and hold a special place for someone. So I'll see if I can find some more of those Superman nicotine posters as well and hang some of those up at your
Yeah, do.
booth. But guys, thank you so much again for your time today, for everything that you do. And I can't wait to see you all at Portsmouth Comic Con in May of next year.
Thank you, Luke. Thank you, Ryan.
Cheers, Luke. Appreciate it. Thank you.
And that was episode 2 of the Portsmouth Comic Con podcast. Thank you so much to Dr. Mayank Patel and Ryan Kelly for talking about DiaFight, for all the hard work that you do and will continue to do. I can't wait to see you all at Portsmouth Comic Con. I want to collect the comics. I want to play the game. I want to see people having fun at your booth. This is what a Comic Con is all about. Community, inclusivity, being seen. And that is what this game is all about. And I can't wait to see what DiaFight do next. I have been your host, Luke Bugg, the Geek of Steel. The links to DiaFight are down below, where you can find out more about their amazing work. And you can find your tickets for Portsmouth Comic Con at portsmouthcomiccon.com. Take care, and I'll be back soon with a brand new episode of the Portsmouth Comic Con podcast.